Hey everyone, welcome back. Happy Monday. So what Bitcoin giveth on the weekend, Bitcoin taketh awayeth on Monday. So Bitcoin's back down to basically where it started on Sunday. So we were back to that level. Bitcoin miners for the most part were in the red. We had I think 2 or 3 that were actually in the green today because of some good news for them. We'll talk about them obviously. We'll also take a look at the miners EPS estimates for them for Q2 based on the numbers from Q1. If we extrapolate that data into Q2 potentially, right, we're going to be kind of close there. So we'll look at all those numbers there for you guys. We'll also take a look at some story that we have from JP Morgan. They updated their outlook on the miners. They're saying something a little bit different here now. We'll talk about that as well. Bitfarms news today as well. Mara got their $950 million convertible note. That happened today. That was closed. So they got that. What else do we have? A bunch of good news stories on Bitcoin as well, and we'll get into Q&A. So it's going to be long, but we're going to try to get through this relatively quickly here. As always, not financial advice for Tim and only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously, and I greatly appreciate you guys coming in to watch this and take part in the comments as well. But let's get into what's going on here with Bitcoin right now. Like I said in the beginning, Bitcoin would giveth on the weekend, taketh awayeth on Monday. So here's what we got. We were up nicely yesterday on Sunday, 1.27%. Today we were down 1.17%, back to where we basically started out on Sunday. So we closed at $118,070 on Bitcoin right now. We're down a little bit more in the new day for Tuesday here. Not much happening there. RSI still looking pretty good here on the 1-day chart, right? RSI has been going down, but price has been more or less flat, which is good. I think it's just setting us up for a nice little run up here eventually, right? When we get this nice, hearty footing or step to go up higher, I think. That's just kind of my thoughts on it right now. Markets were kind of all over the place today as well. And tomorrow we have the FOMC meeting. We'll see what comes of that. I'm not expecting much of anything. I think the rates will stay where they are right now. We'll see. Maybe we'll get a surprise. But I'm expecting not much change there. What else do we have here? Ethereum today was also down, corrected, got to a high of 3,941, and it came down. Majority of the Ethereum treasury companies were down because of that as well. Ethereum's down now a little bit more here. I think we're due for a little bit of a correction on this one as well. So we might come down here a little bit more, I think. Gosh, I don't know where we could possibly end up on Ethereum here, but I'm guessing somewhere around maybe 3,400 to 3,600, somewhere around there before we bounce back up maybe. We'll see how that plays out. What else we got here? Miners, for the most part, like I said, were in the red except for Bitfarms. Bitfarms today was up 4.07% here. That was nice. We have a new story on them. We'll talk about that. But basically, they're going to be transitioning over to the United States GAPS reporting system as well. They have a new facility, or a new office basically in New York as well. So they're more going into the United States, which is good. Next here, BitDeer was down 3.14% on the day. Cango was flat on the day, 0%. Cypher was down 4.79%. Cleanspark was up 1.78%, maybe on the news from JP Morgan as far as the coverage on them. We'll talk about that in a second, but maybe that had a little bit of an impact here. CORZ was down 0.11%. Hive was down 2.2%. Hut 8 was down 0.25%. IREN was down quite a bit, 6.43%. I've said this, as we were going up here, I'm saying that we got a little hot here with IREN, and I could see this price if they got a deal, but right now we don't have a deal. So right now what's happening, the stock is actually going down here. They also got downgraded a little bit from JP Morgan as well. That might have played into it as well, but we'll talk about that also. There was quite a few announcements with JP Morgan there, but that's happening there. So healthy little pullback here, I think, is good on it. I mean, as far as where this thing could go back to, it could go back to like $13. There's some support there. We also have some support around maybe $15. So that's kind of where I look to possibly start maybe buying back in 15. And then if that doesn't hold, then we're looking at maybe around $13 range. That might be a good area to get into it at that point. Mara was down 0.52% today. Riot was down 0.21%. Wolf was down 1.35%. MicroStrategy was down. Galaxy was down 2.98%. Coin was down 3.1%. Metaplanet was down 3.5%. I think we have a story on them as well. They bought some more Bitcoin there. Exodus was up a little bit, 0.58%. This is Nexon Co. was up just a little bit. Semler was up 3%. The blockchain group was up 1.6%. GME was down 1.5%. Small miners were down for the most part, except for DigiPower here. Big losers here today on that one was Mawson being down 9%. Canon being down 7.96%. Bitcoin miner ETFs were down. All of them were a little bit over 1% down. The Ethereum holding companies here, all of them were in the red except for BTCS. BitDigital was down 4.76%. All of these guys are pulling back. Obviously, Ethereum has only pulled back here the last 2 days, right? If we look at that one, yeah, it's only pulled back 2 days here. It's had a couple days in the green here, but these guys are still pulling back here. So I think, like I've been saying, I think some of these guys got a little too hot, too fast. They need to cool off a little bit, come back down to reality, I think. BTCS was up, like I said, a little bit, 1.57. BMNR was down another 11.78% on that one. I mean, you can see this huge rocket ship that it had here, flight up to $161, and it's been pulling back here. It got overexcited there a little bit. Game, same thing, was down just a little bit, 0.8. SBET was down 4.84% also. A lot of these guys got overexcited and are finally coming back down to reality. Bitcoin dominance is increasing a little bit here. Right now, it's up just a little bit to 61.45 as it is. And then the miners here over the afternoon hours or evening hours right now, you got Bitdeer being down 0.56, Bitfarms being up just a little bit, 0.02%. You got Kango being down 0.8, Cypher being down another 1.3%, Cleanspark being down actually 0.42%, CORZ being actually up 1.49, Hive is flat in the after hours. You got Hut 8 being up 1.67, IREN being up a little bit, 0.3%, Mara here being up 0.41%, Riot platforms being down 0.48%, and TeraWolf being up 1.57%. Bitcoin so far is still looking pretty good here for the month of July. We're up 10.34% as it is. We got a couple more days left in trading as it is. We'll see where Bitcoin ends up by the end of the month. But it's going to be green, unless we have some weird event happening here in the next couple of days where things go down. I don't expect that. Good catalyst, obviously, FOMC meeting could be they do lower rates, we go up, right? We also have the Trump administration having a report on crypto, Bitcoin, all that stuff coming up. I think it's on Wednesday. We'll see what comes of that. That might be a good catalyst there to propel Bitcoin up higher. So I think we have more positive potential than we do have negative potential going here into this next couple of days at least. But we shall see. Bitcoin ETF inflows here, only 9.7 million so far. We'll see what IBIT bought, see where they're at for today, tomorrow. We'll see that data there. But the good news stories that we have that are on Bitcoin, they're bullish. One Bitcoin is now worth more than 1 kilogram of gold. That's bullish, right? Eventually, Bitcoin may surpass the value of gold in time. I think it's going to be probably 10 years plus before we get there. Maybe we get surprised, but I think maybe around 10 years. We'll see. So that's good news there. Also, breaking billionaire Ray Dalio just recommended holding 15% of your portfolio in Bitcoin to prevent fiat devaluation. BTC is perceived as a store of value rocket ships, all right? I've been saying that you want to have at least 5 to 10%, but I mean, now they're going even bigger. Now they're saying 15%. So that's interesting. He also did mention that if you're going to do that, right, it could be a combination of gold as well as Bitcoin, or you can have a mixture of the two. But I don't think he mentioned that you want to have just one there. But nonetheless, if you have 15%, that's really, really good. And everybody knows Ray Dalio, right? Very, very smart man there. So maybe that has some influence on people that are super wealthy. Maybe they'll put in 10, 15% instead of going 1%, 5%, whatever it might be. So this is great news there. People are definitely changing their tune on Bitcoin here. And then breaking, PayPal enables Bitcoin and crypto payments for U.S. merchants, right? They got a lot of merchants there. That's going to open up the doors for them. And this is just another on-ramp here to Bitcoin adoption. I love seeing that. Next here is Sequans has purchased an additional 755 Bitcoin for 88.5 million at an average price of 117,296 per Bitcoin as of 7/25. We hodl 3,072 Bitcoin acquired for 358 million at an average price of 116,690 per Bitcoin. So another company that just continuing to stack here, following the path of strategy. And we're seeing a heck of a lot more of these companies doing that. Next here, Volcan Inc. has bought an additional 37.3 million Bitcoin this morning. Volcan now holds 3,500 Bitcoin worth 416.5 million. Another company that's just been buying up like crazy, which is great. We're also seeing Metaplanet acquire additional 780 Bitcoin. Total holdings now reach 17,132 BTC. I think this puts them above Riot, I think. Riot has 18,000. I can't remember what they have. But they're getting close to Riot, if they haven't surpassed it already as it is. So that's another one that's just been buying up like crazy. Again, following the strategy suit, the path there. The great thing about this is a lot of these companies, I think, are going to be holding it for a very long time, which then obviously takes Bitcoin off the exchanges, OTC desks, all that stuff. We also saw last week, right, 9,000 Bitcoin or 8,000 Bitcoin being sold for like $9 billion there, and it got absorbed relatively easily. So that's great. If we went back to the prior cycle in 2021 or something like that, that would have had a huge impact on it. It would have went down 20-30% at that point. But as we're seeing more and more demand and everything else, we are seeing also the ability to kind of gobble the stuff up relatively quickly as well when there is sell pressure on Bitcoin, which is great to see. This is from Rex Finance here. Cleanspark, a couple price target bumps that came in alongside new initiations. JP Morgan price target increased to 15 from 14. Cantor Fitzgerald price target to 25 from 22. So that's maybe what's helping out Cleanspark here today being the green compared to the other miners. And then here we have this from JP Morgan. Pure play miners to outperform as HPC hybrids look stretched. This is from JP Morgan. So I thought this was interesting and kind of goes with my thoughts a little bit as well on this topic. JP Morgan refreshed its Bitcoin miner coverage on July 28th, updating models to reflect Q2 2025 operating metrics, a higher spot BTC assumption of 120,000 and a 900 exahash network hash rate. The firm now favors pure play miners over hybrid AI HPC names, viewing the latter as stretched given long sales cycles and uncertain deal timelines, right? Which is kind of what I've been talking about also for quite a while with these guys, IREN, Cypher, Riot, Hut 8, who else is in there? Anybody that's trying to get an HPCI deal with anybody, right? We've been talking about it for over a year now, about them getting a deal, but we're still nowhere near to be seeing a deal. So, right, what is the holdup there? It's not the megawatts, right? They have megawatts available. A lot of these guys have the megawatts available right now. So what is the holdup? Is it just the deal structure? Is it the economics there? Is it the ability to have, tier 3 or tier 4 data center capabilities there for availability of power? Do the sites that they are at, do they require curtailment, right? All that stuff I think goes into it. There's a lot of things that got to be worked out. I think eventually we might see a deal. I don't know who's going to get it. I think, personally, I think IREN and Cypher are probably the best ones to possibly get one, but we could be surprised by Riot or Hut 8 or somebody else in the space, Bitfarms even, right? So we just don't know. It's one of those things where if we do get a new story on one of these guys getting a deal, it's going to pump it pretty hard at that point, and it might also revalue some of the other ones. But here's, continue on here. The bank upgraded Mara to overweight from neutral, citing an unrecognized year-end hash rate target of 75 exahash named Cleanspark its top pick, actually. So maybe that's what helped the stock today being up. Conversely, IREN and Riot were downgraded to neutral from overweight after strong year-to-date gains that have likely priced in much of their upside. Without having a deal for HPC I would agree there. I think they've gone quite nicely up, and we need a little pullback on those guys. And this is more or less what JP is saying as well. So revised December 2025 price targets reflect these shifts. Cleanspark's target rose to $15 from $14. I think that's actually pretty low. I think they should be up in the 20s actually. So I think JP's kind of sandbagging it there a little bit, implying a 27% upside. Mara to $22 from $19 for a 28% upside. I think that one should be up higher as well. But I mean, Mara's operations haven't been great right now. So we'll see if they can get up there. Riot to 15 from 14, that's a 3% upside, and then IREN to 16 from $12, implying a 10% downside, and Cypher mining remained at $6, implying a 7% downside from where they are right now on those two things. So yeah, I think IREN could possibly go down a little bit more as it corrects here a little bit, unless they do come out with a deal for HPCI. At that point, we could possibly see things going up in the opposite direction, in the upward. But right now, it's it's going to be teetering a little bit. It's going to be going down, I think. Beyond mining, JP Morgan quantified potential HPC co-location value. A 600 megawatt deal at Riot could add $480 million in annualized adjusted operating profit, 170% share price upside potential at that point. Okay, I could see that, right? Riot does have like 600 megawatts. 300 megawatt Cypher transaction, 95 million, 77% upside, and IREN only 75 megawatt IREN deal, 55. So they're not giving IREN the full 2 gigawatts they have available for them in the next 2 years, basically, to get a deal on it, which I think is maybe a mistake there. I think they need to take that into account as well. I think they have a lot more upside than Riot and Cypher there. This analysis underscores substantial latent value for those securing hyperscaler partnerships, though it was not fully captured in the price targets. Yeah, so they're not including those in the price targets right now. And I would agree with that. If they do get a deal, it's a huge upswing for them. If they don't, they're going to kind of linger here and be traded more on potential hype and maybe more so on Bitcoin operations going forward here. So we'll see where this goes. But that's kind of echoes what I've been saying here. Right now, we're waiting on those HPC deals. Will they show up? Will they not show up? That is the big question here. A lot of the stuff that's been driving the stocks here recently in IREN, Riot, Cypher, and potentially others as well has been the potential for an HPC deal. But we need to see one, right, on that one. So we'll see. So that's that. Next one here is going to be Bitfarms here really quick. This is great news from Bitfarms as well. Bitfarms announced its second principal executive office in New York City and initiates conversion to U.S. GAAP filing, basically, for their financial statements, all that stuff, for the reporting, quarterly reports. So today they announced that the New York City office it acquired as part of the previous acquisition of Stronghold Digital Mining and will be identified as Bitfarms' second principal executive office in its filings with the Securities Commission in Canada and with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. The company is also planning to prepare its financial statements under U.S. generally accepted accounting principles to better align with other companies within their industry. Right? We are seeing this obviously happening with IREN as well. IREN, as of the current quarter that we're in right now, I think their end of the fiscal year ended in June. So the quarter that we're in right now will be based on GAAP accounting principles going forward. So Q1 for them, which is going to be our Q3, is going to be in the U.S. format there, which I think is great. And also here, what else do we have here? Okay, here is the transition from IFRS accounting standards to U.S. GAAP is expected to commence with the annual consolidated financial statements for the fiscal year ending December 31st. So once they get through that, they're going to start going into Q1. In Q1, it'll be GAAP. This is a quote from Ben Gagnon. I'm excited to announce Bitfarms' principal executive office in New York City and our conversion to U.S. GAAP reporting, building off the successful rebalancing of our energy portfolio to 70% North American megawatts in Q1. These initiatives further advance our U.S. pivot and align with our HPCI growth strategy. Maintaining a U.S.-based PEO and transitioning to U.S. GAAP is expected to simplify our reporting processes, reduce administrative and legal costs, broaden our U.S. investor base, and improve our eligibility for inclusion in certain stock indices, among other potential benefits. There are some benefits for being reporting from the United States. So they're doing all the right things here going forward. And I'm happy to see that they're doing this because I think they needed to do this. Let's see. We believe this strategic transition will better position Bitfarms to execute our HPCI growth strategy, driving improved operational efficiencies and maximizing shareholder value, which I agree. So congrats to the team there at Bitfarms for getting this done. This obviously helped the stock today as well. We'll see where Riot is at as far as selling their stock in it. I think they're around 8% right now. We'll see where they are in a couple of weeks and maybe a week or two. Maybe they're down to 7%, 6%. We'll see. But it's nice that they're getting off their backs as well. So this will kind of free them up going forward. And if they're able to buy any shares going forward as well on top of that. All right, so that is it on the good news that we have here for the miners and all the stuff that's happening here. And let's take a look at the miners here right now as far as what the EPS could be. So some caveats in this. As always, there's always caveats with all this stuff here. So the data that I'm using is from Q1. I'm using the average amount of hash rate, the BTC mined here, also how much they mined for that quarter. And I'm extrapolating the data as far as what their costs were at that point for quarterly expenses, energy expenses, obviously the BTC mined average. All that stuff is being taken into account there. And we're extrapolating that data into what they possibly got for Q2 figures, right? So it's going to be it's an estimate. It's not going to be 100%, but it's going to be an estimate to give us at least a ballpark as far as where they could possibly come in at. Okay, so we got that. So here's what we're looking at for all these guys here. Also, this only includes Bitcoin mining. This does not include any other business segments that these guys have. So for Riot, it would be their engineering side of the thing, I believe, mechanical, whatever the heck they're doing over there. That's not included. For BitDeer, we're not including any of the hosting that they do, the leased space, whatever the heck they're doing over there as well. That's not included in there. Who else? Hive, no data center for them. IREN, no data center revenue for them as well. So this is all I got right now. And I do need to add CanGo in here. We'll add those in for probably this quarter. So I just need a little bit more data on those guys to see how things will plow into it. All right, so here's what we got. Quarterly expenses, energy expenses, right? So I'm using those from Q1. BTC mine also from Q1. Cost of energy per BTC is that's what I'm at, figuring that out based on the data there, right? Then we have reported quarterly uptime. So I'm using that as well. What they report for what I could figure out actually for their operational uptime for January, basically February and March, right? And then we're using uptime percentage for the last 3 months, which was obviously April, May, and June. And then quarter hash rate average operational up for the current quarter that we just ended here. And then we're getting basically kilowatts cost per petahash on these guys. We're also looking at the current petahash average uptime. So Q2, this is Q1 here. Probably should mark it all down. Electrical cost for Q2. Revenue estimates, right? What is their revenue based on Bitcoin mining? Total expenses, we're using that extrapolated data from Q1 to figure out what they're paying for electrical. We're using pretty much the same thing for quarterly expenses for overhead costs, general administrative expenses, all that stuff is included in that as well. So we're saying those are going to be kind of even there, right? If they increase, it's going to have obviously an impact on the EPS here. HODL, if they have a HODL, I'm using the HODL information that I have from my FASB sheet here, which is pretty close to what they probably will report. So we're using that data in here. And then we're looking at revenue minus expenses plus FASB HODL. This is where they're going to be coming in at. Number of shares. Shares are going to change, right? For most of these guys here, Cleanspark might be the same, but for these other guys, shares are probably going to increase. So that's going to probably offset it as well on the EPS side of things. So take that with consideration as well. And then we're looking at the EPS. We're looking at minus depreciation, what the depreciation is, revenue minus depreciation, and what the EPS would be at that point if we include the depreciation in there as well. And we're not including really stock-based compensation for most of these guys here. So that's going to be added in there as well. I don't know what that's going to be. That's always fluctuating up and down. We get the EPS from that. And then we look at a couple of things here. Revenue minus HODL. Were they able to get a positive EPS without the HODL impact? Right? And then we're looking at revenue minus HODL minus depreciation. Where do they come in at that point? Or adding depreciation to it as well on top of it. So where do they come in at that point? So based on all this information here, I could probably go through all this one by one, but I don't think I will. I'll just let you guys take a look at the information here. We'll get into the EPS for these guys and look at the last couple of rows here on it. Because the data is just from Q1 anyway, so you guys have seen that data. That's all here for all these guys, right? Their operational uptime here for all that, and we'll just get into the EPS side of things here. So for IREN here, IREN's looking to be revenue minus expenses plus FSBL, which they don't have anything. We're looking at about $118 million in revenue for them. Revenue estimates was $180 million here. Total expenses about $62 million. That's estimated, right? They could have increased their expenses on, well, general administrative, headcount, all that stuff. They could have increased there. They don't have a HODL, so that's kind of where we're looking at 118 million potentially for them. Shares, 224 million. That gives us an EPS of 53 cents, right? If we take out the depreciation on top of that as well, minus depreciation, which they had 47 million last quarter. This quarter might be a little bit higher, but still not going to be that huge of an impact, I think, unless they go like over 100 some odd million on depreciation, which I doubt they will. If we look at revenue minus depreciation, we're looking at about 71 million. So that's a difference, right? 47 million here from 118 to 71. That gets us down to an EPS of about 32 cents per share at this point. Now, if the shares increase, we're looking at lower shares EPS, right? Revenue minus HODL, at that point, we're at 118. They don't HODL anything as well. And then revenue minus HODL minus depreciation is 71 million. So that's the same thing for these guys here. So they're looking pretty good. They're going to be EPS positive for sure. This is going to be their third quarter as it is. So I'm guessing somewhere between probably around 32 cents, give or take a little bit. So I'm saying somewhere maybe between 25 and like 32 cents, somewhere around there. Somewhere around there is where I'm kind of guessing they're going to be. Because we're not including stock-based compensation in here as well. So if you take that out, we're looking at maybe like, yeah, I'd say maybe 20 to 30 cents at that point, right? Somewhere around there is where I'm kind of thinking for these guys. All right, next here is Cleanspark. Cleanspark revenue was 199 million. Total expenses was 104 million. HODL is about 300 million for them. That's a positive for that. So you got revenue minus expenses plus FSB HODL. You got 395 million being green here. Number of shares, 280 million. I think they're going to stay the same because they said they're not diluting. So we're going to hold them to their word. They should be around there. That gets us an EPS of $1.41. If we take out the depreciation from what they had in Q1 as well, That was about 79 million there. That gets us to revenue minus depreciation at 316 million at that point, which would get us an EPS of $1.13. Add on top of it the share-based compensation, take that down, 10 cents, whatever it might be at that point. So we're looking at maybe $1.03 to $1.13, somewhere in that range. The good thing is if we take out their revenue minus huddle here, so we're taking that out, we're at 94 million positive at this point. Include the depreciation in there, and we're still positive 15 million. So they should be EPS positive unless they put in share-based compensation of over $15 million for the quarter. If they do that, then they're going to be EPS positive or EPS negative at that point, right? But if they don't, if they put in share-based compensation of 6 million, 7 million, whatever it might be, then they will be EPS positive without the HODL impact as well. So that's going to be great for them, I think, also. That might springboard them a little bit. We'll see how the stock will impact when they actually report on that. Next here is Cipher. Cipher estimated revenue for Bitcoin mining is about 45 million. Their total expenses is also about 45 million right now, based on Q1 results for them. So, right, it could change. HODL FASB impact, I calculated about 26 million for what they had. They sold quite a bit as well, but they added a little bit to their HODL. So that's kind of where I'm looking at right now as it is. So if we have revenue minus expenses plus FASB HODL, they're positive 25.6 million at that point. Shares, we'll see where the shares number comes in at, but at this point they would be at 7 cents positive on the EPS. Take out the depreciation, we're looking at negative 17 million at that point. So a negative 5 cents per share EPS. Now add in share-based compensation into it as well. And we're looking at maybe, somewhere around negative 10 cents, something. We'll have to wait and see on that one. So if you take out the revenue minus HODL, we're looking at negative 521,000. But if you take out also the depreciation on top of that, now we're negative 43 million at the end. So, this one's going to be interesting to see. They got to get their costs down. And I think with them going to increase their hash rate to 23 exahash by the end of the year, that should help out. But is it going to be enough? That I don't know. At that point, we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Bitdeer. Bitdeer is a tricky one, like I said, because they have now ASICs that they are generating revenue from the ones that they're selling. They also have multiple business lines as well. This one's going to be off. I know this one's going to be off because I'm only calculating basically on their Bitcoin operations for self-mining. Does not include other business segments that they have there. So I think I tried to include for the revenue here. I included only the revenue for the Bitcoin mining here. If we look at it, they also have some other stuff, right? So with the other stuff, I'm looking at about maybe 80.9 million, but that's a wild guess on that one because they don't really report on it. And you can see that down here, let's see, numbers are down here, right? They got self-mining, cloud hash, general hosting, membership hosting. So they got a different business segments for that. Plus now they have the ASICs manufacturing as well and selling of those. That's going to be added on top of it. So my numbers are going to be way off. I know it already that they're going to be way off. So just take that with a grain of salt for Bitdeer. Total expenses about 44 million for Bitcoin mining side of things. HODL impact about 31 million for them positive. So we're looking at a positive 42 million just from Bitcoin operations and HODL right now at about 42.8 million shares. I'm guessing those are going to go up. So EPS would be 22, but add on the other business segments and they might be actually a little higher on that. I don't know exactly how much higher. We're talking about maybe another 5 to 10 cents, depending on the revenues there and the costs. Minus depreciation, that was 13.7 million last quarter. I'm sure it's going to be higher this quarter around. So revenue minus depreciation was about 29 million there, about 15 cents. Again, add on the other businesses, we could be up a little bit higher here. But if you take revenue minus HODL and add in depreciation, we're at negative 1.9 million at this point. Now add on top of that any stock-based compensation, and we're probably looking at maybe around negative 8 million or whatever it's going to be, to negative 10 million, whatever that's going to come in at. So that one's I know is going to be off. Because they just have so many other business segments that I can't track properly right now. Okay, Riot is next here. Riot looking at about 140 million here in revenue for them. Total expenses 138 million. So that's pretty high here as it is for them. HODL impact about 476 million. So with that should get them to be positive 478 million. Now, that would get us to about $1.34 here for the EPS with that, minus depreciation of 77 million, about 78 million roughly. We'll see where they come in at this time. If they lower that would be better. But revenue minus depreciation would be about 400 million, so that would be a $1.12 on that one. Now take out the revenue minus HODL. We're looking at about 2.1 million here, and then if you add on depreciation on top of that, you're looking at negative 75 million at that point. So they are still not positive without the HODL position as it is right now. So for them, I'm looking somewhere, depending on obviously stock-based compensation. I know that they like to pay themselves quite handsomely. So, I mean, that could bring them down to maybe under $1 at this point, depending how much that is. So that's kind of where I'd be looking for them right now to bring in the numbers. All right, Marathon here. Marathon had a really good quarter, 229 million here. But their costs were also high, 174 million more or less. HODL impact, huge impact on the HODL, about 1.2 billion there. So that gets us to 1.252 billion, right? Revenue minus expenses plus FASB HODL. Shares I think those are going to probably increase because they dilute all the time to fund operations. So we'll probably have more shares there. EPS with the number of shares there would be 356, but I'm guessing it's going to go up, so that's probably going to come down. Minus depreciation, last quarter was 157, almost 158 million there. Revenue minus depreciation would get us down to 1,100,000,000 roughly. That would be at $3.11 per EPS, right? But if we look at their operations here, revenue minus HODL, we're looking at 54 million. Add in depreciation on top of that, you're down at negative 103 million. Add in stock-based compensation. They also like to pay themselves handsomely there. That's going to be probably, I don't even want to speculate how much that's going to be, but that's probably going to bring it down another several tens of millions of dollars there as well. So we're looking at negative overall on that one. So HODL definitely helps them out here, but looking at without that, they wouldn't be EPS positive without it. And then Hive here, Hive, I don't know where their HODL is right now because they stopped reporting their HODL position. So if they have like 500 Bitcoin on hand, that would give them about, what would that give them, about 50 some odd million dollars, right? That would give them a positive EPS with the HODL at that point. So this one's going to be off too because I just don't know what their impact is going to be on the HODL side of things. But the revenue here did increase nicely to 40.58 million. We're also not including any of their HPC business that they have for GPUs that they're getting business for right now, which I think is a run rate of around 2 million something. Total expenses about 46.7 million roughly, give or take, as always. HODL we don't know, like I said. So without the HODL, they are actually negative 6.2 million. With the number of shares there, so that's negative 4 cents per share. Minus depreciation last quarter was about 15.7 million. If that stays the same, we're looking at revenue minus depreciation at negative 21 million, which would be a negative 13 cents per share. And then if we take out revenue minus HODL, which they don't have any HODL, we're still at 6.2 million there. And add the depreciation, we're at negative 21 million there. So if they have 15 million on FASB HODL, that could definitely help them out there as well to be EPS positive for the quarter going forward. So this is kind of where I'm looking at these guys to possibly be at. It's not exact. It's the best I can do with the data that we do have on these guys. And a lot of the data that we do have is for Bitcoin mining only. We don't have the other businesses as well. It's not being really reported. So this is kind of where we're at. But at least the good part is I'm seeing at least a couple of these guys here being positive. This time around, at least, we're seeing IREN and possibly Cleanspark as well being EPS positive without the FSB HODL. And then we got BitTier, I think, is going to be close to that. Again, depending on how they do the stock-based compensation. Who else is going to be close? I mean, Cypher is going to be down quite a bit. I mean, they're going to be close depending, again, stock-based compensation and depreciation on that one as well. But I think more or less they're going to be negative potentially on that one. They just need to grow their scale of mining as it is to get to a certain scale where they can cover their costs for overhead and everything else. All right, that's kind of what we're looking at here on it. We'll see where they report. Obviously, we're going to get some numbers coming out later on this week and next week as well. And if anything, we'll kind of flip back to see how close I was on this. I'm guessing I'm going to be, somewhere in the middle there. It's not going to be exact, but we're going to be hopefully close, not too far off from these numbers here. Unless, again, they diluted like crazy on number of shares or they handsomely rewarded themselves through stock-based compensation and put a bunch of the stuff down for depreciation as well. So that is it. This will be available to my Patreon members as always. I'll get you the guys this probably tomorrow. Yeah, I'll do that probably tomorrow because right now it's 9:44. I'll get to that to you guys tomorrow. So this will be updated for that. And yeah, if you want to join the Patreon membership there and help support what I do, a couple bucks a month. Link for that is down in the description. And you get access to our wonderful Discord server as well. Free of charge of that one. We get a bunch of great information happening there as well. So that is my little sales pitch. That's the only sales pitch I have for you guys. But that's it. Let's get into Q&A. See what you guys have to say on any of this stuff or any questions that you may have. And as always, if you could preface the questions with a question mark or a Q, I would appreciate it. And we'll get through it all. I'm going to scroll my way up as always, and I'm going to work my way down We'll go from there. Let's see what we got here. Let's see, talked about that one already. Let's see. BLM says Mawson used to be at like 200,000 to be profitable. I don't know if it's 200,000, but well, it depends on how much they give themselves in share-based compensation, all that stuff. So you might not be too far off from there. Let's see. KBW says, nice clickbait. Pure play miners like Trash Can Mara are not outperforming HPC AI. Well, JP Morgan seems to think so, right? So that's kind of why it's not a clickbait. It's just what this new story is. I also think that the miners that are pure play might perform better here if the other miners that are trying to get HPCI don't get any deals for HPCI. That could be a potential outcome there as well. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Bang Bang says, could really use a Mara pump past 20 this week. Picked up some calls last week, but looks like they'd be worthless here. Okay. All right. John Kurtz asks, Seb, do you own Tesla? Would you buy at these levels for long-term? Thanks. Tesla, let me see. Let's take a look at Tesla here really quick. I've been thinking about getting Tesla, but I need to make some money on these miners first, a lot more money on these miners first. And then I may rotate into like Tesla, some other stocks as well. Let's see here. Where's my chart? I think I am in here someplace. There it is. Tesla, $325. Oh, yeah. I mean, think about... let's see here. Here's the screen. So I kind of bought about it around 220 here recently, right? Somewhere around there. And it's been going up and down. Obviously, it's been very volatile because of Elon Musk's involvement in trying to save the government from its own demise. And that was not a very popular decision to do. That's the thing with being a public figure, especially someone that is, well, so entrenched in the companies that he runs. So many. I mean, he's got Tesla, he's got XAI. He's got X, which is now part of XAI, but he's got also the brain implant chip company there as well. Boring company, SpaceX. I mean, he's in all of the frontiers of everything here that's happening in the world. So I think if he cools that rhetoric down a little bit, the stock will do very well. But I also think that there's a potential, and I was thinking about this over the weekend here, XAI, right? They had their Grok announcement or update I think it was last week, that they had a live stream on it, providing all the data on on the AI set of AI front, and all the improvements that they're seeing, and how much smarter it is now than some of the other AI systems out there, large language models, and that eventually could get to a point where it starts inventing things itself, materials and science, right, medicine, things like that. If that ever happens, that company is going to be worth huge. My thinking is before that happens, I think maybe one, Elon will have Tesla buy XAI out for a couple of reasons actually. They might buy them out for obviously the AI prowess that they have there, for the super intelligence as well that's going to be coming from them possibly in the coming years for that. The added brain power needed for Tesla's not only self-driving, but also for the robots, the humanoid robots there as well. That's going to be needed for it. There's just a lot of synergies between the companies that I think would make sense for it. And if that happens, I mean, yeah, Tesla has that. I mean, how high do you think the stock can go? I think it can go, a heck of a lot further from where it's at right now. But that is also with Elon Musk being kind of, it's going to be hard for him to do, I think, but be in the best interest of his shareholders and maybe not make so many waves in the government. Okay, I'll just put it that way. But I think there's huge potential there, either through Tesla or through XAI. If it ever goes public, that'd be the one to possibly get into as well. Because, I mean, if those super intelligent AI start generating their own materials, developing new sciences, developing new mathematics, or whatever it might be, whoever has that, I think, is going to be in huge. I don't want to freak everybody out here, but I think it's going to have pretty much the world at their fingertips at that point. That's just my thoughts on it. We'll see if it actually works out that way. We might have a couple players in here. We might have Gemini from Google. We might have Meta in there as well. Meta's trying hard as well. Amazon, whoever else is trying to get in the space as well. OpenAI to a certain extent as well. And so it's going to be very interesting in the next, I would say, 3 to 5, 8 years or something like that, as far as the development that we're seeing here in AI. I mean, it's freaky good already as it is. So that's kind of where I'm leaning on those things. But in the short term, I'm going to ride out the miners here for a little bit longer, and then we'll see. Maybe we'll transition all those gains and everything else, put it all into some of these AI companies, which I think Tesla might be a part of as well. They're more of a software company than they are actually a manufacturing company as it is right now. So, yeah, that's kind of my take on that one. I think Tesla is a long run good bet, unless something bad happens to Elon or something like that. But I don't want to think about that, at least not right now. All right, let's go back to Q&A here. All right, talked about that one. Let's see, Victor C. All right. Question, I have SBET at 30 and BMNR at 47, losing more than 25,000. Do you think they will come back up to break-even levels? Please advise. Oh, gosh. Well, I got into game for a day. I was in there in the morning and I was out by the afternoon. It's like I saw what was happening in the other ones as well. Gosh, that's tough. I know. You got on the hype, and now it's hurting a little bit. Let's see, SBET. I mean, SBET was the one that kind of crazy as well. So here's the chart on SBET right now. It has been bouncing back up here, but the strange thing that's been happening here, Ethereum price has been going up while these guys have been going down. Not only SBET, but we've seen it from Game, we've seen it from pretty much BMNR as well, BTCS to a certain extent as well, and BitDigital also here. We've seen gains in Ethereum, but these guys are going down, right? So my thought process has always been, okay, yes, you can get an multiple on these guys for their Ethereum treasury or Bitcoin treasury, whatever it might be, but you shouldn't get like a 5x multiple on their treasury. That just doesn't make any sense, unless you really think that Ethereum is going to go 5x in the next, I would say, 6 months to a year. Okay, then maybe that for a certain period of time, yes, they can do that. But I think eventually they need to pull back down to reality, where I think reality is more or less, I mean, they shouldn't be somewhere around maybe 1.2x, maybe at the most 1.5 for a certain period of time, but they shouldn't be that much off from the actual asset itself, like Ethereum or Bitcoin itself. So that's kind of where I'm standing on it. So I'd be careful with these guys if they do come back up, which they might, but it might take a while for those guys to come back up, just from what I'm seeing here at least. They got the hype. The hype was driving these guys up tremendously to these prices, and they've come back down. It just got overexcited here on these guys. So it might be a little rough to get these guys back up here, but it could happen, right? Ethereum goes to 5,000, 6,000, whatever it might be. These guys should come back. So I would just hold tight for the time being, maybe, and maybe dollar cost averaging if you can a little bit. Bring your costs down, and then that way it gives you a little bit lower price to get out potentially if they do come back to those numbers again. Okay. As always, not financial advice. You got to do what's right for you. All right, back here. See. All right. Hi, Sebastian. Do you think entering IREN at this level is a good move? I think we might have a little bit better price action on it coming forward here. It's not going to be too much lower from where it's at right now, but it could be still lower on IREN. I think based on what we're seeing here, at least on the daily chart, I think somewhere around $13 might be a position to get into, if not the $15, right? I'd probably start adding on a little bit here around 15 something, right around there if it comes back down to it. And then definitely if it comes back down to like 13, dollar cost average and some more at that point. Because that's kind of where our supports are. Right now, just definitely got a little happy there. But we do have support here. We bounced off of that, or at least we had resistance there, which could turn into support. And then the next move would probably be right around $13, I would say. 13 and change, more or less. But again, if they get some kind of announcement where they have an HPCI deal, well, this thing just goes off like a rocket at that point. So there's always that chance of happening as well. Okay, let's see. Victor, do you know any other I can recover my loss? Do you know any other way you can recover your loss? Yeah, kind of like I said, maybe dollar cost average in, get your costs down lower, and then at that point you're closer to breaking even at some point. Let's see what else do we have here. Let's see. All right. So ahead, Sebastian, quick India fact. India's stock market regulator froze 570 million of Jane Street options funds to price manipulation and they settled a $1 billion lawsuit over a stolen trading plan. Just sharing. Okay, interesting. I mean, look, these guys are all going to do whatever they can to have an advantage of whatever it is. Sometimes they do break the laws. I mean, that's the real world, unfortunately. Nobody is pure as the white-driven snow, right? Let's see, what else do I have here? Okay, I talked about that. Let's see. Sodahead says, I hope Cleanspark goes to $15. I think that should be an easy thing to get here. All right. Okay, let's see. Jackie says, glad to see JP's actual point of view on miners, giving IREN a 75 megawatt hypothetical deal tells me everything I need to know about their analysis. Yeah, that's crazy, right? I think they may be valuing that on the Horizon 1, maybe Horizon 2. They're not really looking at the, what is that, Sweetwater 1 and 2. All right. Let's see. Bob C says, Bitfarms, companies seeking to merge or get set for acquisition in the HPCI space have until 31st of July 2025 to show they comply with the conditions of federal acquisition regulations. All right. That is beyond my expertise there, my friend. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Neil. Hi, Seb. Does Bitfarms announcing share buyback mean management does not see an imminent HPCI deal instead to lift the share price? I mean, you could view it that way, possibly, right? But I also think that they're just trying to help the stock get up in value a little bit. But yeah, I mean, also, how much are they going to buy, right? I talked about this already plenty of times. Is yes, they have this buyback program, but again, do they have the capital to do it, right? Do they have the free cash flow to do it? That's going to be the question here. We'll maybe see that on what they're reporting for their Q2 results here. Let's see, Bob says, Bitfarms continued. This includes a confirmed U.S. physical presence, a security view, and compliance with GAAP required. Okay. So, well, I mean, so that would be also the same thing for like IREN, right? IREN is now going for GAAP as well. They have a presence in the United States. They're doing that. So, I mean, would you say that they are then also a possibility to get acquired? I mean, it could be. Could have one of the hyperscalers buy them out. Maybe it'd be pretty cheap for them to do that. All right, Nick, question here. Hive is moving steadily toward 25 exahash, 18 exahash by the end of August. Do you think they will announce any more exahash growth in the near future? I do not. They are going to be pretty much capped out on their megawatts unless they buy another site. They have bought a site for data centers in, where was that? In Canada. Gosh, what was it? Not Montreal. What's the other one? It was other city. I can't remember it right now, but it was like 7 megawatts. So they bought that. I think they're going to looking to do maybe something else in that area as well. Maybe. We'll see. Josh says, hi, Seb. Finally on profit for Bitfarms. I think it will go GP over Canadian this week. Well, GP, not sure what GP means. Cap? No. Over Canadian? I don't know. But that's good. I'm happy to hear that you're in profit. I'm still off by about 10% on it from what I own, right? And my average share price is $1.43, I think it is. Let's see. KBW says, once again, garbage Mara execs, short it while you can. That's one way to play it, and some people are definitely playing it that way. Let's see. YKY. Seb, looks like Mara is going to have a big pop tomorrow according to the high EPS. Potentially. We have seen these guys report really good numbers based on the FSB, right, moving that stuff up. But they haven't really had a huge pop here. We saw that in, when was it, for Q4 of last year, right? Bitcoin got to 108,000 or something like that, and the miners didn't really pop that much. They actually went down for the next couple of months along with Bitcoin, though. Neil, question, is Mara planning any M&A activity or just buying BTC with the billions? They're going to be buying Bitcoin. They're paying off some debt that's coming due in 2026. They are also going to use the rest of it for corporate purposes. So that might mean M&A as well. We don't know. But most of it's going to go probably for Bitcoin buying and then the rest for some of the debt and corporate purposes there. Let's see. Roshan. Can Mara and Cleanspark hit all-time high this year? Mara is Q2 earning is tomorrow. What you expect? Talked about that already. I'm expecting somewhere around maybe $3 per share on it with the help of the FSB hodl there. Without that hodl, they are still losing money at that point on it. So we'll see where it comes in tomorrow. Brett says, question, I like Tesla too, but why do you think that he will bring XAI into Tesla so that the Tesla shareholders gain from it right now? It's private. Thanks. Yeah, I think there's just, I mean, Tesla, you think about the robots, right? The robots need AI. They need to be trained on it. And then if they can access that super intelligence there, that's going to make them all that much better there. Also, they're self-driving, right? Relies on AI also. And if you have that huge data center that you have access to, that should make them also all that much better. So I think there's just a lot of synergies between the two, where they could possibly go that route. Yeah, I think that might. I mean, we'll see, right? That's just an idea that I have floating in my head that maybe that might happen. Fred says it would be great if he does have Tesla buy it and include it, but why do you think he will? Well, just kind of talked about it right now, for the reasons for it. It's just, I think there's potential there for it. He could go public with it anyways, and then just sell the technology to Tesla, right? Just have it be kind of, give him access to the language models, all that models in there for engineering, all that stuff as well. I mean, they could just lease it out to him, I guess, or do a service cost on it or something like that. Mark, thanks for the hard work in trying to get even a small clue on earnings going forward. My new position is in Cleanspark, Mara for earnings. Good luck to everyone. Good luck to everyone, absolutely. Let's see. Cleanspark, likelihood of Cleanspark getting to $30 plus this bull run, very likely. Thanks. I think it's a possibility, right? Bitcoin would have to go to 200,000, I think, but the possibility is there. As long as they don't dilute and they get to 60 exahash plus by the end of the year, I think that would be a really good thing. My bear case is that they get to like $22, $24 or something like that, bare minimum, right? But I think if they do perform as well as they have here recently against Bitcoin in the last couple of months, then we might see them get to like 30, maybe $30 plus at that point. Let's see. Gary says, Seb, question, I'm embarrassed you're using JP Morgan analysis who had $12 IREN price target when it went to 21 as source. Well, I'm not using it as a source. I'm just giving you guys, well, maybe I guess it is a source, but just something for comparison, right? You guys know where I had IREN. I had like $25, $28, something like that, where I think it should be. Same thing for Cleanspark. So I think they're low on some things compared to everybody else, but the likelihood of them thinking that the AI HPCI space might underperform the Bitcoin miners was kind of interesting to me. Let's see. Okay, Victor, he's got a question. Would it be advisable to cut loss SBET and BMNR and buy and hold Tesla to come back up? That's up to you, right? Which one do you believe has the more upside potential? I mean, obviously Tesla's a great company. A lot of things happening for them as well. The robotaxis coming out. You got the autonomous robots. You got also Tesla semi-trucks. You got the battery department there as well. I mean, they got a lot of stuff happening for them. So I think the upside potential is there for Tesla. So, but I also think maybe for SBET and BMNR, they just got overexcited, like I said, and they're pulling back down now. And we need Ethereum to go up. And with Bitcoin going up, I think Ethereum will go up as well. See, Gary says, question, your bias to hodl miners showing when you think same analyst who gave IREN at 16 target is correct, but Cleanspark his 15 target for low when IREN is only positive miner. Did I say 16 was okay? I said I have them even higher than that, right? So I think that's low, even for IREN. I think IREN should be in the 20s. Same thing for Cleanspark as it is, even without the HPCI business. So I don't agree with them on everything. I do agree with them kind of that if the miners that are into HPCI don't get an HPCI deal, the other miners might outperform, right? That's kind of the way I'm looking at it. All right, let's see, Gary. CoreWeave price at core deal was 165, now down to 110. At what price do core shareholders reject deal? CoreWeave unlocks 80% of the share in middle of August when many expect profit taken. Yeah, I don't know when they reject it. I think there's going to be some lawsuits there for sure, potentially. And it also depends, do the actual shareholders there have the votes to do it, right? Are a lot of the votes already in institutions and things like that? Or they might just go with the company's recommendation there. I don't know. It'll be fun to watch how it plays out. Mr. X, is XRP still a good buy? Can it be the future of monetary transactions? I might have a role in it. I don't think it's going to be the only one there. I mean, you got also Cardano getting into that. You got HBAR getting into it. Who else is getting into it? There's Litecoin, I think, is getting into it as well. So there's other coins that are trying to get into that space as well. So I don't know if it's going to be the only one. But they might have a pretty good future here. We'll see. Gary, IREN doesn't need a hyperscaler. They probably rejected offer from CoreWeave, as could do better with NVIDIA Lapton bringing in customers. There's always a possibility, right? That's something that we've talked about also, that they could become a hyperscaler themselves. But man, that's an expensive endeavor there to go that route. So they're going to need some backing, and NVIDIA backing on that would be great to have. All right. Let's see. Gary says Mara is out of cash. They need most of the money to keep on lights and pay the mining. They are bleeding money mining, which has to get paid. They got to get their costs under control. That's for sure. All right. Mark, I know this is a BTC miner HPC group, but my stock of the year is AG. First Majestic. They are fundamentally a very base company now with the latest acquisition still hated, so shares still cheap. Okay. I don't know anything about them. Would have to look into them. What price is good to get back into IREN and Riot again? I think, like I said, right around, we have some support around $15 some. That might be a good starting point. If we go down around $13, I think that would be a much better point at that point, right? But we don't know if it's going to go down that low. Let's see, Mark says also XLM, yeah, which is, I think, what is that one? I'm drawing a blank on that one. I had that one for a while. Oh, gosh. It's not Cardano, is it? No. Is it Cardano? It might be Cardano. I'm drawing a blank. CG, question. Can we all just agree that Hive is the most undervalued miner and we should be buying it like crazy? Well, it's the most undervalued miner, but it's also still got pretty high costs to operate when it comes to Bitcoin production. So we need to see that come down, I think. They're making good progress, I think, also in reporting in GAAP going forward. I'd like to see some more operations in the United States, personally. I think that would help them out. A lot of the operations are overseas, so there's some risk there. So I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to hold them down or not because of that. Time will tell. Okay, looks like last question here, VGA. Is it a good strategy to play earnings of one miner and then rotate to another miner whose earning is next? That I don't know, right? They could have good numbers and the stock still could go down. So I don't know on that one. Mark says XLM is stellar. Thank you. Yeah, stellar. I had stellar for, I think I still got maybe like 1 or 2 stellar coins or something like that somewhere on an exchange. But yeah, so that's another one that's trying to get into it as well. Let's see. CJ says, thanks. You're very welcome. Yeah, so we'll see where things come in for the miners when they start reporting their quarterly results. We'll see how close I got to my estimates, or at least within the range. I'd like to be somewhat close to it, but we'll see. Right? There's a lot of unknowns with these guys. Number of shares being out there, depreciation, how much do they put down for that? How much do they put down for share-based compensation? A lot of unknowns that we can't really figure out. We can only use the data that we have for last quarter and see what we can extrapolate from that. All right, so we'll cover all that happens when the miners do reports later on this week, the ones that are reporting, which I believe is Mara. Who else? Mara's reporting. I think Riot is also reporting later on this week. And then next week, we get more as well. So it'll be interesting to see. Other than that, we'll call it a night. So really appreciate you guys as always. Love you all. Hope you guys have a great night. And hopefully we get some good numbers from these guys and some bouncing of the stock prices. Love to see it. I'm sure you guys would too. All right, we'll discuss it all tomorrow. I'll see you guys then. Have a great night.